Stephanie, it's a pleasure meeting you at ADM Toronto show. Basically, what I wanted to catch up on is what are the different things happening in the Canadian manufacturing industry. And one of the biggest questions is what type of automation project requests has Engine received in recent times, especially in 2023 or even earlier, a little earlier than that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you for having me here, Sukanya. So we've been having funding that's streamed to various technologies and outcomes. So Engine had a artificial intelligence funding stream for manufacturing that we've been working on, and that has been across sectors. So we've seen work in hydrogen, work in food tech, pretty much across the board. So artificial intelligence is making inroads in a number of different areas. But in terms of adoption, that one's tricky because a lot of our projects are, the first time this technology has been applied in that way.
Yeah.
So we are seeing, for artificial intelligence, a lot of adoption across different sectors in manufacturing. And then we do see it's a balance. So there are industries that are, say, like agri-tech or agri-food and that kind of thing that are looking to get the most out of the resources that they have, and there's some catch up to do with a lot of that. There's a lot of manual processes in that area, and then there's other ones that are very advanced and they're looking to push the boundaries, like the electric vehicle supply chain work that we've been doing recently.
So, I'm curious, does Engine see Canadian manufacturers lacking in information or resources to automate their facilities and businesses? Do you see a gap in terms of, they want to go ahead with the projects but are not able to because of certain challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's Canadian manufacturers are very cost conscious.
Right.
And so a lot of the times you want to see someone else take that step or a use case in your industry before you see the value of it, and that can be tricky. So there's always got to be a business case for Canadian manufacturers.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, and I like to think at Engine that we do with our transformative projects, sort of try and light the way in those areas. So number one, I think seeing use cases and having a business case for adoption is good. And then there are sort of pockets of excellence. As an example, there's an organization called MTech Hub in Halton region that puts together, say, IoT stacks, and it solves that problem for all the small to medium size members that they have. So I think there's also a critical mass in terms of having enough people to take time away to look at these types of things, and so it can be more challenging for small businesses that are just trying to keep their business afloat and work in today's economy. So a little bit of size and a little bit of business case. And I will mention also that Engine has a future ready program stream that helps with upskilling the employees that you do have,
right.
Which I think is also of benefit.
So I know that Engine has done a lot of work internationally to get Canada on the map. One of the most recent ones was being at Hanover Messe. You're doing that in 2024 as well. So I'm curious, what do you see in terms of Canadian manufacturers faring when it comes to automation adoption and in comparison to other countries? Do you have any data or insights that could point you in the direction where you see a difference?
That's a great question. I will say that it could be, again, the size of the business. Canada has a lot of speedboats, a lot of small and nimble companies, which is great, but sometimes the larger companies that we see in, say, the US just have more resources to take on types of projects like that. But I will say that technology is becoming very intuitive and user friendly. And so even people who aren't comfortable with sort of what's under the hood are getting comfortable with the user interfaces that we're starting to see for process optimization and things like that. I would say that's one of the biggest trends, is making the technology that's there as user friendly as possible, so you kind of meet people in the middle with what they know and what the tech is capable of. So I think there's work that Canada can do to continue to compete on a national stage. But there are areas of excellence in Canada for sure.
And what would you suggest Canadian manufacturers should focus on in terms of automation for strengthening their future?
I mean, I'm always a big fan of infrastructure and data infrastructure. So I think in the new economy, that's something that every company has to pay attention to. What's your data structure? What's your data governance? And that kind of thing. So and once you have that in play, you can do so many things with it, because that's it's cheaper in terms of storage and communication technology and processing power in a way that hasn't been until now. And so that's where I would usually recommend people start.
And what would be your suggestions for this community to look for especially those that are thinking of beginning their journey? They're at their initial stages and sort of looking for that support to take the next steps.
It's a great question. So I mean, NGen is all about collaboration, so we do like to see companies partnering with each other. I think Canada has some strength in the collaboration, and that's the kind of thing that will move Canada forward. So less competition and more collaboration is how I would put it. There's industry associations that companies can look to maybe help them with some of that, but that's what we're a big fan of at NGen.
Thank you so much for your wonderful insights and for doing this interview.
My pleasure, Sukanya. Thank you for having me.